What's up, guys? Welcome to weeks number 22 and 23 of my 2018 training. Got a little bit backed up here, had a busy couple weeks and wasn't able to get a training log out to the nobody that gives a shit besides myself about a week ago. So I combined some of the training footage from the 2 weeks. I didn't include all the dynamic effort because none of that was particularly exciting. But I did get my 2 max effort variations from 2 weeks ago in. So what you're seeing here on the max upper day is pin press with the Swiss bar. We have this suspended just a little bit off of chest height, and ended up taking triples on this day up to 2 top sets of 3 with 315. Nothing was particularly painful on this day, but if you watch my left elbow, the right one, as you're watching a video, you can see that it tends to quiver a little bit, just coming out of the bottom of the press on just about every rep, but it's worse on the first rep, and that's because I'm trying to kind of hunt for some stability. On this day, I was having some discomfort on the right side, just at that lockout, so it felt like it was difficult to drive through the elbow and actually extend the arm. This now being a couple weeks later, learned that that is from me kind of dumping into the right arm because the left one was all locked up. So that's not necessarily anything new, but either way, I was happy to still get 3 wheels in my hands for a couple of sets. Accessory work after that workout consisted of these floor presses here on the axle bar. The annotation at the bottom isn't correct. I ended up doing, I think, 3 sets of 10 and then a final set of 16 with these with 225, and all that felt really good. It actually felt better to be on the axle bar than it did on the Swiss bar. So did just a couple rounds or giant sets of a few different accessories. Nothing too exciting on that day at all. On the max effort lower day, on that following Monday, I decided to take just some raw work. I'm having my briefs brought in since they've, over the course of now having dropped 40 pounds officially, I'm under 235 for the first time since, I don't know, probably before powerlifting. But had to take my briefs in because they've gone from being a couple sizes too big to they don't honestly even stay up if I don't hold them up between sets. And that, along with the fact that I had stopped doing a lot of my PRI correctives, is why my hips and everything has started going back to shit. So I'm having those taken in. I should have them back in about 2 weeks. And then also, since this workout here, I've gone back down to meet with Min and get back on board with my PRI correctives. So fun fact, your corrective exercises do not in fact keep you corrected, and if you stop doing them, you get uncorrected in roughly 2 months. Apparently him and my buddy Kevin, who owns Underground Strength down in Salem, had a running bet on how quickly I'd be able to fuck myself up again since I clearly stopped doing them. And he finally reached out to me after I posted this video and told me to kind of get my shit together and come back and see him. So thank you to the 2 of them for getting me back on board with my corrective work and kind of getting me back together. This being now a week back on my PRI correctives, I feel significantly better. And I've had a couple of good workouts since getting back on those. So hopefully we will see that those things start to clean themselves up since I'm doing the prep work I need to. I just did like a lot of people do, and once everything stopped hurting, I stopped doing the things that made it stop hurting in the first place. So be smarter than me. Do the things that I say and don't do what I do, because I'm real dumb when it comes to giving or following advice for myself, but I give really good advice to other people. So fortunately, I have a good network of apparently all really smart Asian friends to help keep me put together. So anyways, after the debacle with the 325 squat, just moved on over to conventional pulls. These all felt pretty good. This one with 500 was probably the better of the reps of the day. I ended up taking 545 after this, and it came up okay. My hamstring got a little bit pissed off, so you'll see that there's a bit of a stutter just past the knee as I'm trying to transition from hams and glutes into the lockout on the lift. So still came up. It didn't hurt, but you can see when it slowed down that there is a definitive shift in the hips right as the bar is breaking off the ground. So That should hopefully clean itself up as I start to do the work that I should be doing in the first place. So that brings us to this most recent week of training. On this day here, we were doing some just medium grip work on just a regular straight bar. Had 80 pounds of chain on there. Ended up taking triples at, I want to say something like, this is 95 or 105, 145, probably 195, 215, and 235 for the top 2 sets, all with 80 in chain. These felt more or less okay. I actually was able to bring my grip out. I found out during the dynamic workout during the week prior, and so on that one I was able to use all 3 grips. So I did kind of something an inch and a half, 2 inches inside the ring, something pinky on the ring, and then something as either middle or pointer finger on the ring for the wider grip, and that all felt pretty good. So I brought the grip out a little bit on these, and it actually felt more comfortable than doing the little bit closer grip. So I'm going to kind of keep rotating through the multiple grips on the dynamic day like I should be doing. I wasn't able to do that initially, but did it like I should be doing. And then I'm going to bring some little bit wider grip work in on the max effort day as well. So expect to see a little bit more straight bar work starting to make its way into rotation. I might attempt a straight bar with a slingshot day here in the next couple of weeks. We'll just kind of see. I'm going to gauge a lot of that based on how everything feels on the dynamic day. If everything is comfortable and moving really quickly, then I'll be more likely to want to do some straight bar work on the max effort. If things feel a little bit shitty, then I'm going to be more inclined to stick with either the axle bar or the Swiss bar, since those two have been the least problematic in their different variations, whether that be a floor press, pin press, full range press, things like that. So that's kind of what I'm thinking for the bench training moving forward. On this day here, since this was week 2 without my briefs, I wanted to stick with a variation that tends to let me disperse the load pretty evenly between the hips and the quads. So I did Hatfield squats here. This ended up being a really high volume workout since I had a few sets that didn't feel good, so I ended up doing 3 sets at 380 before going up to 4 wheels, where I hit a triple and then took 470 here for a pretty clean triple. And then by the time I went up to 510, I got a little bit stuttery on the second rep, so I actually shut it down and just took 2 and then came back and hit a single to round up the 3 reps at 510 before shutting it down. So these were something that if I keep my upper body relatively upright, and that's kind of what the handles help with, then I can kind of stay balanced between quads and hips, and the closer stance does also help. But it still was just a little bit too much here on this set, and I ended up calling it there. So that was pretty good. My best on a Hatfield with this, I think, is the 510 for a set of 5. I don't know that I've ever attempted to take them heavier than that. So either way, strength is still holding up, even though this was still a relatively dysfunctional workout. The same thing happened on the trap bar deads. I ended up taking 3 sets at 540, or 2 sets at 540. I took 2 or 3 sets at 500. I'll have to check back over the actual log. This is the first set at 540. As you can see, I had kind of shit positioning, and then I shot my chin way up to try and correct it, and then the third one was kind of also garbage. So I came back and hit it for this set, which was much cleaner. You can see I'm loading between the hips and quads very evenly, but there's still that slight shift over toward the right, or to my left as I'm doing it, just as the bar is breaking off the ground. So I was able to still take these up to 600 for a triple. That felt pretty good. I think had I been actually doing this with 2 legs, I'd be able to get something more like 5 to 7 reps with this weight. I think the heaviest trap bar that I've done is 675 for 2, or maybe I pulled 700. I don't remember, but that was a while back, and I think pretty sure I was a good deal heavier then. So either way, that still felt all right, and was able to do some accessories afterwards. But I did have to cut that workout short since we ended up running a little over on time since I took so many extra sets on the way up. So call it for there. I've been doing some airdyne bike work on the off days. My Tuesday and Friday workouts, which had just worked into long LISS cardio walks. Since I got the Airdyne bike, I hit 5 rounds of 30-second sprints with a minute and a half rest, and wanted to die. So what I did is the first 5 rounds on the bike, and then went and walked for about 30 minutes afterwards to kind of round out about a half an hour, like 36 minutes or something like that. And what I'll keep doing over the next few weeks is, as I bring my calories back up, I'm going to add time to the Airdyne sprints and kind of turn those into just HIIT workouts probably. What I'll do is add basically 1 round per week. So this week here I did 5 30-second sprints with a minute and a half rest. I did that on both workouts. The following week I'm going to do 6 rounds, then I'll go 7 rounds the week after that, 8 rounds the week after that. Once I get to 8 rounds, I'll put a cap on it because that keeps it at 16 total minutes. And if I'm not still continuing to lean out at that point, then I might drop it back and do 3 HIIT sessions on the bike, but go back to 5 rounds and kind of build that up as well to extend the window on that conditioning work. So until I get built up to that level, what I'm going to do is basically put a 30-minute cap on my cardio work, and I will do hits up to those 8 rounds and then just fill in the remaining time just with walking as kind of an active cool down. So I'm still going to be getting 30 minutes of cardio type work in on those 2 workouts, in addition to the sled work I've been doing on the 2 lower body days. And so long as I am recovering and I don't notice any kind of a performance drop or any kind of achiness in the joints and connective tissue, then I'm going to continue to head down that road with things. I think it should be fine, since I'll be adding in carbs over the course of the next 6 to 8 weeks as well anyways. I'm going to continue my cut, but I'm going to just make it a little bit less aggressive. So rather than focusing on weight loss, I'm going to try to continue to lean out while staying right in that 235 to 42 window. I don't think I'll let my body weight go over 245. So I'm going to try and do this very slowly and methodically. That way I can kind of continue to recomp but stay towards the top end of 242 without necessarily putting myself in a position to have to cut weight the next time that I compete. I don't think I'll end up getting a meet in this year, and I'm cool with that. If I come out of 2018 and I'm 10+% body fat leaner and I've maintained or built some strength and dropped a weight class, then that's a perfectly well spent year for me. If I can add to that by also coming out of it healthy by doing my corrective work and not being an asshat, then that sets me up for doing something in the first part of 2019, and that sounds pretty good to me. So that's about it. Dynamic Day did some single leg shit and some kettlebell swings. That's going to change here moving forward, but I'll explain that in the next video. Followed that with good mornings on the camber bar out of chains up to the set with from 315 for 10, and did some other stuff like some heavy like 700-pound sled drag. So that is it. I hope you enjoyed the video. If you did, like it, subscribe to the channel, and I will talk to you next week. Take care.